Okay, here comes to the fourth example. This example, once again, is a concluding paragraph. It's from the essay called 4 Elements, 5 Architecture, inspired by Dan Brown's book Angels and Demons. Let's have a look at the original. As you can see, we have elaborated on the 5 buildings appearing in Angels and Demons. So Angels and Demons, that's the book title, so generally speaking, you need to put that into italics. And then there's a list of 5 buildings or 5 pieces of architecture, including the Chichi Chapel, which refers to the element of earth, the St. Peter's Square representing the air, the Santa Maria della Victoria Chapel that serves as the element fire, the fountain of Full River in Nanova Square is indicated as the element water, and finally the last spot, Castel Sant'Angelo, which is actually the Church of Illumination. So when you list, have a list of items, you might think about whether you might like to ensure this so-called parallelism in terms of the structure. So you can see here, the authors use the Cheeky Chapel, and then you use this relative clause here. And then in the second one, the St. Peter's Square, you use representing air. So this is the so-called participle structure, participle phrase. And then relative clause again. And then there's a passive. And also there's a slight problem about the fourth one, the fountain of 4 rivers in the Nanova Square, because this part is actually a sentence. And the next one, again, and then the next one is the relative clause. So you might like to think about how you can ensure the parallelism or in the presentation of a list of items. And then you say these architecture, generally speaking, is uncountable. So you might like to say these pieces of architecture enlighten the whole story. So we choose to introduce them. I don't see any grammatical issues here, but the problem with this "so we choose to introduce them" is the function of the role of it. So generally speaking, this kind of expression occur at the beginning of the essay. It occurs in the so-called introduction part of the essay, where you talk about the purpose of the essay, of your writing. But here you are doing this conclusion. What you probably can say is something like, in this essay we introduce these architecture because these pieces of architecture because they enlighten the whole story. Okay. Then you say they play a vital role in the story. So they refers back to these buildings. They play a vital role in the story as they are the codes to lead the main characters to success. Okay, that's fine. And then you say but not very specific, because I don't think these buildings, like a Chichi, I don't think these buildings are the codes. Okay. The codes are embedded somewhere in these buildings, but they are not the codes. And then you say, in the process of understanding the connection between the codes and the architecture, we found it utterly fascinating to dig deeper into the background history of the building. That's fine. Then you say, if we all start to explore those stories hidden behind the architecture around us, we might derive pleasure and profit beyond our expectations. This is also fine, but I'm slightly concerned about the word profit here, because profit tends to have there's kind of connotation of kind of like a financial connotation. It's something more to do with money, financial gains. So I'm not sure whether this is the kind of benefit you want to talk about. Let's have a look of the revised version, as they want to re-emphasize that this is not the perfect one. Sorry. Okay, let's have a look at it. In this revised version, I say in this essay, we have discussed the 5 key buildings in angels and demons and their association with the elements decoded by Langdon, including the Chi-Chi Chapel for the air and St. Peter's Square for the Chi-Chi Chapel for the earth, St. Peter's Square for the air, the Santa Maria de la Victoria blah 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 for fire, etc. Okay, so if I look at my sentence, first of all, I started with in this essay we have discussed. So I didn't mean that elaborated on is wrong, but I feel that discuss is a much better word here because I didn't actually elaborate on the building. Okay, because when you say elaborate, it means that you had already had some discussion about something, and then you elaborate on that. You move a bit further, and then you elaborate on it. So I chose the verb discuss here in my revision. We discussed the 5 key buildings in this book, and we discussed their association with these elements. I try to emphasize these elements were decoded by Langdon. And then, as you can see that in the list of items here, I just use very simple structure like the Chi-Chi Chapel for earth, and that's it. And then in the next sentence, I say, rather than being in the background, these pieces of architecture enlighten the whole story. The secret codes revealed in each of them guides the protagonist to succeed. So here, I modify the word. Basically, I retain the idea you want to convey, but I change it slightly. So here, as you can see here, that I started with rather than being in the background, these pieces of architecture, so the architecture, that's the focus. So I want to say this architecture enlighten, you say the architecture enlighten the whole story, and that is the idea I want to retain. But I add this modifier rather than being in the background. That is something I want to use that to emphasize the importance of architecture in Dan Brown's book, the value of it, the importance of it, the distinctiveness of them. Okay, and then I say, and also the secret codes revealed in each of them. I simply just want to integrate, the sentence that you say as they. Here, the sentence you say as they are the codes to lead the main character to success into the same sentence. So I change that into the secret codes revealed in each of them, means revealed in each of the buildings or landmark, guides the protagonist or the main characters to succeed. We have found this process of analyzing the codes and the architecture oddly fascinating. Okay, so I basically used your expression, we found it oddly fascinating, but I tweaked it a bit. So now I came back to use we as the subject. Okay, and we have found this process of analyzing the codes and architecture oddly fascinating. And then I say, we believe a lot if we start to explore history, not story, maybe history, oh yeah, story. To explore stories, but you use plural, that's fine. So if we start to explore stories hidden behind architecture around us, we might derive pleasure and benefits. I use benefit instead of profits beyond our expectations, and that's pretty much the things that you